Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Welcome to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. For all of your podcasting needs, I am your favorite host, Ryan Holloway, and it is a beautiful Wednesday outside. If it is Wednesday for you, it might not be Wednesday everywhere. We're not discriminatory towards, weekdays and things like that. I got some interesting topics for you guys today. Got a couple trade deals I want to ask you about how you feel about. We're going to see how that goes. I'm also going to cover this interesting controversy. I don't really want to say the word controversy because it seems like that's an overused word and it might not even be the right word for the situation. So I'm going to say is conflict. I'm going to say the conflict between the NBA coaches and Lavar Ball. This has sparked and turned into something that I didn't necessarily think that it would. It's not something that I would think that will grow to this magnitude, but I mean, it's gotten pretty heavy. It's gotten pretty heavy. Like, honestly, I didn't know it would get this serious, but I mean, we'll get through it together as a staff, record label, and the crew. All of us, we're all going to work it out. We'll all work it out as one team. I do want to ask you guys something though. This is like kind of a personal matter. So have you ever gotten a piece of clothing and then that piece of clothing was just the go-to? I'm not saying if you live somewhere where it snows, you get one jacket and that's all you rock because it snows and it's warm and that's your jacket. I get it. But I have this sweater, right? I got this sweater that I bought on a Black Friday special, and I love this sweater. I love it to death. I wear it all the time. And I may have a problem because I have other sweaters in my closet, but for some reason I have a special relationship with this sweater. Don't take this the wrong way, but it's just a sweater that I feel like I don't know what's going to happen if I ever misplace a sweater. The problem with the sweater is this: when it comes to sweaters and washing them and wearing them, they eventually start to lose their give and then they're no longer sweaters. So will I overly love this sweater? Will I love my sweater to death? Is that what's going to happen? Or should I chill off of it a little bit? Maybe it should just get warmer, then I won't have to wear it anymore. These are the type of problems that I deal with in my life. These are the problems. So this may sound like a champagne problem to you, but realistically, this is a real life sweater controversy that I'm dealing with right now. On with the show. Basically, several days ago, last week, Lavar Ball said that the Lakers don't want to play for him. They said they don't want to play for him. Those guys don't want to play for him. Lonzo looks disgusted, and you could tell by the way the team looks, they don't want to play for him. He said Luke's no good. He's no good. And at first, not even at first, I'm never gonna say I thought this was okay. I felt like he kind of crossed the line a little bit, and the reason I felt like he crossed the line is not because he doesn't say. Actually, that's what we're going to do. First, I'm going to tell you why this is okay. Then we'll tell you why it's not okay. That's kind of the formula I'm going to lose here. The reason this is okay is because we've spent, I'm going to say a year now, maybe a little bit more than a year. We spent the year now. No, over a year. We spent over a year putting this man on television and putting a mic in front of his face and putting him on wrestling and asking him if he would beat Michael Jordan in basketball. They put him on several different shows on large sports networks. I think he had a whole car wash day actually where he went there and then went to every single show. They asked him outrageous things. He made outrageous claims. We all laughed. At one point, he said and he would beat Michael Jordan in basketball. He said he would back him down because Michael Jordan is little. That's what he said. So And everyone laughed, ha 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 ha, kiki, all that, and it was great, right? And then even for the Lakers opener, like after the opener, he was interviewed before his son was, which is like the second overall pick. And so this is what we've been dealing with for a while now. This is the gist of it primarily. Like, we're gonna just basically have him on every television show. He was even on CNN or Fox, one or the other. He was on there with Chromo. From Fox or CNN, one or the other. And they asked him about his so-called beef with Donald Trump, like during their like Twitter finger battle or whatnot. He was on there, talked a lot. They asked him some questions, and everything was just kiki, ha 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 ha. So this is okay because we asked him everything anyway. Then when he released his shoes, we had him with his shoes on the television show. He was calling it Big Baller Brand, wearing his shirt and his jacket and his hat. All over the place. Big Baller Brand everywhere. And it was fine. We were completely okay with it. We were fine. And you know what happened with this? You want to know why he's so important? I'm going to tell you why it's important. Because when you create a name for someone, like when the name is manufactured and you manufacture fame. So someone has a name. Then when you manufacture their fame, their name is around for so long that it's like one of those things. What's a great example for this? I need a great example. It's like a cold. It's like a cold. If there's a virus and the virus is unleashed, it's just everywhere. It's like kind of like the Walking Dead cold because it doesn't go away. It's like the cold from Walking Dead. Everyone's a zombie now. It's just out, and it keeps like multiplying itself because the name is out there. I'm going to say the same thing happened with, I'm going to say something similar happened with Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow was a great football player in college. Then somehow he ended up going to the NFL. Then he got his name chanted by fans. They kept his name in the news, kept it in the news forever. Even when he got cut by the Broncos, kept his name in the news. Jets, Patriots, kept his name in the news. His name was in the news when he wasn't around anymore. Kept his name in the news, kept his name in the news. And keep his name in the news so long, the Mets are like, hey, you know what? You should come play baseball for us. Come play baseball for our minor league team. ESPN's like, you know what? You should get a job here because his name's in the news for so long. I mean, I can kind of say, like, even though Kaepernick's name was in the news for different reasons, I'm going to say because it was talked about for so much and not let go, like, the fame was something that was given, right? Even though Kaepernick doesn't do what he does for fame, but his name's in the news for so long that it's residual fame. And I think that's what happened with Lavar Ball. We put him on TV so much. It's not about Lakers or Alonzo. It's not about UCLA. It's all about Lavar because we put his name in there for so long. So no matter what happens, they put a mic in front of his face because it's always going to be news for what he says because he was made into a big deal. So no matter what he says is news. That's why what he said is okay. That's why what he said is okay, because this is the monster, the Frankenstein that we created. So whatever he says it's going to feel like it's okay. At one point, if we took microphones out of his face, didn't interview him, maybe he would recoil towards things like, I'm not going to give a hot take because my hot take isn't really going to get any attention. And I'm all for the attention. So if my hot take isn't going to get any attention, then there's no point in making a hot take. No hot takes for me. Right. But if you're always interviewing him, he's always going to give you a hot take. That's why this is okay. Because he thinks it's okay. Here's why this isn't okay. This is not okay because like your parents can't go to your job and talk bad about your boss. That's not something that we're able to do. Like, well, wait. Let me make something clear. Let me jump back to this real quick. We made him important, right? And let me tell you how far we went to making him important. I'm going to tell you guys how far we went to making him important. You guys know that Shaquille O'Neal was a rapper, right? Well, Shaq's still a rapper. He still freestyles. He spits a little bit. Shaq has low-key bars. Shaq's a pretty good recording artist. I mean, if you had to take all the NBA recording artists and put them in front of a microphone, like past, current, I'm going to say Shaq might be like top 10. You got Shaq, Damian Lillard, Iman Shumpert. Those are the only ones I know that have bars. So there's those guys. Did you guys know that Shaq came out of rap retirement to write a diss record against LeVar Ball? Shaquille O'Neal. All-time 8th in scoring. 4-time NBA champion. Master's degree. Sheriff. Host of Shaq and the Fool. Correspondent for TNT. He came out of rap retirement and recorded a diss record against LeVar Ball. Yes. This happened. this happened. Charles Barkley actually made fun of his college stats and talked about how bad he was on like one of the highest rated sports shows that's on television, on TNT Basketball. His name was mentioned on there before someone's in the league. So with this monster is something who we created. But that's not why, and those are all the reasons why this is okay. Here's why this isn't okay. I'll get back to this. You can't go to your child's job, to your child, like your seed. You can't go to their job and talk about their boss. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. If you work for Microsoft, like your mom or dad can't go to Microsoft and then go in Bill Gates' office. I don't know why Bill Gates would just be in an office in Microsoft. I don't think that he has to do those type of things. But you can't just go to Bill Gates' office and say, you know what, you're not running this company right. And my son, he doesn't want to play here. He doesn't want to work here for you. He doesn't want to work for Microsoft. You shouldn't be in charge. You're just not doing it right. Whoever put you in charge, they need to reevaluate what's going on because it's not right. It isn't right. You can't do that. It's not a good look. And one of the things is that, like, it's not bad necessarily for like a parent to be involved in sports because, I mean, that happens, right? Like we can see tons of NBA footage of like mothers at games going bad on refs. Happens pretty often. That's happened a lot in the past, we'll say 5-10 years, with moms at games going bad on refs. Actually, I don't know, last 20 years. You'll see footage of moms going bad on refs, going bad on other players that are on the court with their kids, which is fine because, again, like that's so far removed that it doesn't necessarily matter really, right? Like you got owners, we got coaches, you got players, you got refs, because the refs are just kind of there. They're just kind of running stuff, you know? So whatever a mom is saying or a dad is saying on the sideline, it's not going to have a massive problem. We can't say that it is going to. But when you start like attacking coaches though, especially I'm going to say like a younger coach, it's probably just not a good look because here's the thing. If you attack like an older coach that kind of had some, let's say like some clout, first of all, I mean, you probably wouldn't, right? You probably would not attack a coach that had some clout. Like you wouldn't attack Popovich, right? Like you wouldn't attack, I'm going to say Steve Kerr. He's got 2 championships. You wouldn't do that, right? Because they'll either brush you off or they'll say something that's probably not the nicest thing to say to you. But for someone that's like young in the game, still brand new, still finding their way, and you attack them, that's to me, I think that's kind of like a low blow. That's kind of a low blow. He said Luke is too young. They don't respect him. Luke Walton's been there what? 2 years? I mean, 2-3 years now. I mean, geez, can the guy do his job? Can we give him a little bit of a minute to do his job before we just call him completely terrible? Steve Kerr was asked about the situation, and Steve Kerr basically said, where we're going is we're going away from covering the game, and we're going toward just sensationalized news. It's not even news, really. It's just complete nonsense. But if you package that irrational nonsense with the glitter and some ribbon, people are going to watch. So I talked to people in the media this year, and I said, why do you guys have to cover that guy? And they say, well, we don't want to, but our boss tells us we have to because it brings ratings. So it's because of leadership. Somewhere, I guess in Lithuania, Lavar Ball is laughing. People are eating out of his hands for no apparent reason. Other than that, he's become the Kardashian of the NBA or something. That sells. And that's what's true in politics, entertainment, now in sports. It doesn't matter if there's any substance involved in an issue. It's just, can we make it really interesting for no apparent reason? There's nothing interesting about that story. Do you know how many parents of my players have probably been at home like, man, he should be playing my kid. And yet we're sticking a microphone in his face because apparently it gets ratings. I don't know. Who cares? But people do. That's what Steve Kerr said. Greatly spoken, by the way. And he's right. However, we have 82 whole games to play. We have 82 games to play. So it's kind of like, I mean, we got 82 games to play, right? And the storylines only go so far. With those storylines only going so far, these particular things have to be inserted. I mean, the Cavs are back now. However, they've lost 6 of their last 9 games, which is kind of misleading because they've done well with Isaiah Thomas. And Isaiah Thomas actually got ejected last night because he clotheslined Wiggins. I'm going to get to that. However, when it comes to when it comes to a highly recruited player being drafted second, playing for one of the most storied franchises in the NBA. And his dad is saying outrageous things about the coach. Not only is it news, but it's also basketball. Want to know why? I'll tell you why it's basketball as soon as I get back from this break.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast with your favorite host, Ryan Holloway, presented on and by the GSMC Podcast Network. So I was telling you about how I was going to let you know why. Well, sorry, recap. This is what we're going to do. I was talking to you guys about LaVar Ball's recent comments about Luke Walton and the Lakers. LaVar Ball feels like Luke Walton is too young. He says he's lost the team and no one wants to play for him. He doesn't connect with the players and then you get rid of him. And a few coaches responded. Steve Kerr responded. I read a couple of his quotes. He also said, I feel horrible for Luke. That's my guy. He's one of my best friends. He shouldn't have to deal with this. But to me, one of the things about the NBA is it's always been a haven from the parents, right? The guys who coach high school are the ones who really have to deal with the parents. I've never had to talk to a parent who's upset about playing time. I'm sure there are plenty out there, but they don't have a voice in the NBA. But for whatever reason, we're giving this guy a voice, and Luke's got to deal with it. It's a shame. And he's right. It is a shame because, like, when you reach the highest upper echelon of sports and of your job, for example, you start to, like, lose other variables that used to be involved. You know what I mean? Like, the more important your job is, the easier people will make it for you. If you're really good at something, then usually what happens is that people will facilitate your talent. And let me explain that correctly. So, for example, right? If you're in a professional sports league and you have to go to a game that's across the country, then you're probably going to be on a plane. Does it take that long to get from, I don't know, let's say in football, does it take that long? Does it take a whole week to get from San Francisco to Dallas driving? No, but they fly there. Why? Because they're football players and have to facilitate their talent to make things as easy as possible, to get them to the games so they can give their best game possible. I say that to say, if you're coaching in the NBA, you've gotten to this precipice, to this zenith, to this amazing height of success that you shouldn't have to deal with, like, the voice of parents, right? And even if you did, if they're in the crowd, that's fine, right? That's completely okay. But to have, like, someone, like, criticize you in the media, a parent, it just seems kind of, what's the word? I don't want to say it's a betrayal of a success, because you shouldn't have to do with that. But I will say it does seem kind of unfair, which is similar to what Rick Carlisle was saying. Rick Carlisle of the Mavs was asked about this whole LaVar Ball thing, and he basically said that he doesn't agree with sports news giving the guy a platform. Like, he doesn't feel like it's even something that even the interview should have been said. He doesn't feel like the interview should have even been taken. He feels like they needed to do a better job of checking their sources, and it's a disgrace for an outlet to basically publish what he said. He said, as president of the Coaches Association, I view recent ESPN article as disgrace, quite honestly. Luke Walton is a terrific young coach who's bringing along a young team, and it's a difficult task if you don't believe it. Just ask me. We're going through that now and went through it last year. He's not happy about what was said, basically. I mean, he also goes on to say that they should check their sources before doing particular interviews. But just because you don't like what the guy says, it doesn't mean it's not news. Unfortunately, this is basketball news. And you want to know why? I'm going to tell you guys why this is news, why it ends up being news, because of this. So, Lavar Ball said that those guys don't want to play for Luke. Luke's too young. He's not connecting. They've got a pretty good team, so on and so forth. But it's not Luke Walton that they don't want to play for. That's not the problem. The problem is this. Here's the problem. The Lakers are in a rebuilding phase, and they're going to do some contractual magic, Jedi mind trick finesse to get any players they possibly can during this offseason, whether it be Paul George, whether it be LeBron James, whether it be Shaq, whoever. They're going to do whatever they can do. They may go find Allen Iverson, whatever they can do. Pull Kobe's jersey down from the Raptors and make him wear both of them. They're going to do whatever they can do. So with that going on, who's coming to the Lakers? Who's coming to the Lakers? Who's coming to the Lakers? And they're not playing very good. And there's like a bunch of players who are owed money that they don't want to pay because they want to release salary cap room, such as Luol Deng. They owe Luol Deng $37 million. And they won't play him because if he gets on the court and gets hurt, then it's a wrap. So, but they can't trade him anyway because no one will take the contract. They also are considering trading Clarkson, Randall, and Nance. And those guys have been there, several years. So if you have a team, you've got, and don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's okay for LeVar Ball to be running his mouth just because a bunch of players are going to get traded. What I'm saying is, I'm basically saying that it's really difficult to like show up at a job and then people are like, hey man, you got to do your best here. We need you to do your absolute best right now. Like, we need you to do your best. We're rebuilding the company and everything's going to be great. We're going to have water slides. It's going to be a park. There's going to be glitter, everything. But in the meanwhile, you keep hearing people in the back saying, hey, you know what? We're going to get rid of everybody. We're going to get rid of everybody. We're going to hire brand new employees. And we get these brand new employees. The company's going to be better. But what we're trying to do right now is work out a deal so that we can get better employees. That's what we're going to do. And that's basically what the Lakers are doing. The Lakers want everyone to play, want everyone to like rebuild, and we're going to build this amazing like franchise, amazing platform for everybody. Meanwhile, they're trying to like get LeBron and Paul George and Shaq and the ghost of Wilt Chamberlain and just whoever they can possibly get to play for this team. So what LeVar Ball is saying, it kind of has some truth to it. And that's what makes it basketball. Because if LeVar Ball is saying, well, they have a good team and they're losing a bunch of their games, they don't want to play for Luke Walton. Well, let's investigate this. Luke Walton's not a bad coach. The team isn't very good, but three of these players kind of know they're going to be traded, and everyone knows going into the summer that someone's not going to be there. Everyone knows that. And I'm not basically saying that LeVar and Lonzo, the ball hype, I'm not saying like the ball hype, the whole ball is life surrounding the Laker organization. I'm not saying that doesn't have an effect on the attitudes of everyone. All I'm saying is we can't ignore the fact that they're losing a bunch of games and they want like better players. We can't deny that. There's not LeVar Ball is ruining it for everybody. No, it's not gonna fly. That's not something that we're gonna be able to do. Not something we're gonna be able to do. So the way I see it is, I personally think that it's not a good idea for LeVar to run around willy-nilly saying anything, not because he can't say whatever he wants, and not because and not because it's necessarily like a disrespect to like the coaches. That's not even it. That's not it either. My thing is this: sometimes in life you get a little bit more leeway if you're good at something, right? So there's been a bunch of professional athletes that have had multiple chances to like be in leagues or participate in particular positions in sports, whatever, because of their talent level. That happens in life too. I'm not sure if you've ever worked somewhere where it's like, hey, that guy never comes to work on time. But he finds a way to bring in X amount of money for the company. So there's like a risk versus reward trade-off. There's a philosophical term for that. I forget what it's called, but we're just going to use risk versus reward. Like what you gain is more than what you lose. So the guy's late a little bit, whatever, but we gain this much money. So Reggie Miller said these kids the other two kids have no shot in the NBA. They said they have no shot. And I was thinking, well, why would he say that? Was their debut that bad? Because I'm sorry, I may have buried the lead a little bit. LiAngelo and the LaMelo, they had their debut game in Lithuania for Virtus on Tuesday. That was yesterday. And LaMelo had 20. I'm sorry, LiAngelo had 20 and LaMelo had 10. So they did okay. So when Reggie Miller was like, they have no chance in the league, no chance, none at all. They have no chance playing in the NBA. I was thinking like, well, that's rude to say. Like, were they that bad? Were they that terrible? Were they that bad to the point where he would just say it off the rip? Like, how much of the game did he watch? How do you know from one game, Reggie Miller? I had genuine questions about how Reggie Miller knew so much about this. But turns out the reason Reggie Miller said that was because of their dad. Reggie Miller said, basically, I don't necessarily feel like any GM or any management or any coach, anybody's going to want to deal with that father. Which is true, right? Because let's say LaMelo and LiAngelo play pretty good overseas. Let's say they do all right and they move up to like the next like Virtus League. Because right now the Virtus League they're in is like, I believe it's somewhere in between the NBA D League and the actual NBA, somewhere in between that. Let's say they play really, really well over there, right? Okay, and they play like okay, not like a Porzingis level, but like French Frank from New York. And a GM is like, hey man, we should go ahead and get one of the Ball brothers. They're balling. They're like, have you seen what the dad is saying about Luke Walton? Like, no, we're not signing them. No, we're not doing that. So Reggie Miller's right. Like, I thought Reggie Miller was just saying, I don't like the way they look. They're not playing in the NBA, but they can't do that. Like, you're not even that good. Like, you're not that good to deal with that. Now, here's the thing. It'd be different if they were like Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon plays for the Browns. It seemed to me, I had to ask some of my football buddies this. Is Flash Gordon that good? They're like, yes, he is that good. He's Superman with cleats on. It's incredible. So I guess you have to deal with that. However, when you're in a situation like, let's say, Johnny Manziel, nobody wants to deal with that. So you can't necessarily have your pops showing up to your job talking all willy-nilly about your manager if you want your brothers to work there. So I don't know who's supposed to pull him to the side and say, hey, man, we can't really have you just down here just saying whatever. It's not going to quite work out. I don't know who can pull him to the side, but somebody has to. Because no matter how good his kids are, if they're not like Giannis Antetokounmpo, like no one's going to deal with that. Now look, if Giannis Antetokounmpo's daddy was out here telling Jason Kidd, hey man, you don't know what you're doing. You're not coaching my son right. It's not right. When Jason Kidd would be like, you know what, man? Because he'd be looking up because his dad's probably tall too. Like, you know what, man? You're probably right. I should be doing a better job. Because Giannis is averaging 30 and he's like 7'9". Like, and he speaks a whole bunch of languages. So he's valuable. Like, he's worth the trouble. These Ball brothers, I don't necessarily feel like they're worth the trouble, in my professional opinion. But we're gonna see what happens with it. I personally don't think that this is gonna go very well because no one's gonna be able to tell him to be quiet, and I think the Lakers are gonna like actually call him into a back room and say, "Hey man, come here real quick, come back here. This is what we're gonna do. Either you're gonna be quiet or we're gonna trade your son." And I think they'll trade him. They'll trade him because they're already about to trade Clarkson, Nance, and Randall. Just gonna wipe all them out and just throw Lonzo in the deal and then just get rid of everybody. That's the way I see it, me personally. Like, so I feel like he should probably sit back and be cool. But if he's not, then his son is about to end up playing for the Kings. When you send somebody to the Kings, you know you're being disrespectful. I'm gonna take a quick commercial break, and when I get back, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about what we got coming up. Oh, about these Cavs, because basically we got a trade deadline coming up, and IT got ejected last night because he's a little scrappy. Actually, let me tell you about this ejection. Let me tell you about this. So Andrew Wiggins was driving to the cup, right? And Isaiah Thomas did this thing where you slap the ball up when someone's going to make a move. And when he slapped the ball up, Andrew Wiggins didn't do the move that Isaiah Thomas thought he was going to do. So Isaiah Thomas kind of slapped Wiggins in the mouth. He kind of slapped him in the mouth a little bit. But they play it in super slow motion. They play it in slow motion. So it looks really bad. Like when Mike Tyson punches Zach Galifianakis. Oh my God. He punches Zach Galifianakis in the mouth. In Hangover, it looks like he punched him directly, but that wasn't the case. That wasn't it. And it's funny because when you look at it, Isaiah Thomas smacks him, and then because it wasn't on purpose, he's just looking at him like, oh, they probably gonna kick me out the game. And then LeBron scored 10 points, and they lost the Timberwolves by about I'm gonna say 28. Let me see, was it 28? They lost Timberwolves by 28 points. Now, my only problem with Isaiah Thomas being ejected for that is I just feel like we should do a better job looking at the replay, because I don't personally think it was something that happened on purpose. If you watch the replay and you see the look on his face, you're like, oh. But if somebody gets slapped and they have that look where their eyebrows are weird, I think it should be an ejection. But if he slaps somebody and you get the face, I don't think you need a lesson learned after that. I just think that there's a possibility that we should just reevaluate your defensive techniques. This is what we'll do. I'm sorry I went on a tangent, but I'm going to take this quick commercial break, and then when I get back, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about the Cavs and this alleged trouble that they might be in. And I'm also going to talk to you about this day in NBA history. And I'm also going to give you the game of the night and the pick of the night and just a whole smorgasbord, a potpourri, if you will, of everything.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA Podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast with your favorite host, Ryan Holloway. I was just telling you guys about how I wasn't really telling you about how the Cavs lost. No, I was telling you about how the Cavs lost. That's what I was doing. That's exactly what I was doing. So they lost by 28 to the Minnesota Timberwolves last night. And apparently I'm going to tell you guys it's not a big deal. This is what I'm going to tell you. This is why I'm going to tell you why it's not a big deal. They didn't do very well in the first quarter of the game, or in the second quarter of the game, or in the third quarter of the game. But I'm going to say what happened was that when they did start to have a slight comeback, not a comeback, but when they started to rally a little bit, Isaiah Thomas got ejected from the game. The Timberwolves were balling. Wiggins had 25 buckets, and Jimmy Butler did his thing as usual. 9 assists. 3 steals. He as well had a nice dub. Well, he had 21 buckets. So my thing with this loss is that, okay, so the Cavs have lost 6 of their last 9 games. They're still doing the Isaiah Thomas adjustments, which are fine. And I also have a feeling that they're going to make this Tristan Thompson trade, which I believe is going to set things off, because if they can trade Tristan Thompson and get DeAndre Jordan, and he can clean the glass for them with incredible bounce, and just, he's a defensive wizard. If they can get him, I think they're going to be a terror. My issue with this loss is that I believe that I believe that the people that are judging this loss are just severely underrating the Timberwolves. Now, the Timberwolves don't have, like, I'm going to say mega big names. Like, they have players, they have a squad, they've got a coach who has a name, and I think they're just being severely underrated. The Timberwolves have Jimmy Butler, they have Andrew Wiggins, they have Karl Anthony Towns, they got Jeff Teague, and I believe they have a JJ Barea maybe. Oh, by the way, Zach LaVine, who used to play for the Timberwolves, is going to have his like debut for the Bulls tonight. And Zach LaVine has like crazy bounce, so it's going to be great to see him back playing basketball. He hurt his knee, so hopefully we wish him well. Hope he does really well tonight. So yeah, I mean, the Timberwolves, they're not a bad team. So for them to beat the Cavs by 28 points, I could see it happening. The Cavs still making these adjustments, still trying to figure things out, still trying to find out who goes what, who's supposed to score how many points. I mean, the Timberwolves are 26-16, and they play in the West. They're in fourth place. They actually, I'm gonna say, they actually have the same record as the Cavs. So them losing that game by a whole 28, it's not a big deal. I'm not gonna let anyone trick you guys into telling you that it's a big deal. What is a big deal is what's going on with Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson he's a center in a league that doesn't really need centers anymore, and like so they're moving players like they can move a play. You can move somebody like LeBron or Draymond over to the 5, and it won't even really matter because the only guys that are like that are massively big that are down there that are scoring buckets are, let's say, a Kristaps or Giannis, and those guys you're playing them. There's 2 of them, right? So to have Tristan Thompson on the floor and having to step out and like guard players like Draymond Green when there's alleged small balls happening, it's not small ball. It's just faster players, and so he's kind of holding them back. I think that's the Cavs' biggest problem. You got to alternate minutes between Channing Frye and Tristan Thompson. They both do 2 completely different things. Channing Frye can stretch the floor. He's 6'11". He's not very powerful down low. Tristan Thompson can't play 12 feet away from the basket. So he does not stretch the floor and he takes up space. That's why I believe that the Cavs should trade Channing Frye and trade Channing Frye and Tristan Thompson and that pick to get DeAndre Jordan. Only problem is they don't really know if they're going to have LeBron. And if you don't know if you're going to have LeBron, then you can't trade the pick. So it's kind of a catch-22 because it's like, well, we want to work on our future, but we want to win now. Winning now means bringing LeBron the absolute best option to stay there. Focusing on the future means keeping the pick. The pick they have is the pick that belongs to the Nets. And that pick is going to be pretty high because the Nets aren't doing very well. So the Cavs are in a pickle. I personally think the Isaiah Thomas thing is working out because he's playing great. I mean, he's still on a minute restriction because he's still working stuff out. But I believe I'm gonna say that they're happy with that trade. LeBron James says that from what he can see of Isaiah Thomas, that he is definitely he's a born scorer. He didn't say those words exactly, but he said the way he bounced back so fast that he looks like he's official to score the basketball, which I mean I completely agree with. Obviously, I don't see a problem with it. So this is where we're at right now. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys this time in NBA history from a while ago. I'm also going to be giving you the game of the night and the pick of the night. Actually, I'm gonna give you the game of the night first. Are you ready? All right. The game of the night is going to be Minnesota Timberwolves against Oklahoma City Thunder. This is going to be a playoff matchup that I'm hoping to see actually in the playoffs. It just depends on it just depends how things shake out because I really would like to see these 2 teams play in the playoffs. Westbrook right now is averaging 25. Jimmy Butler's averaging 21 or 22. And wow. Did you guys know that? I'm sorry, I got thrown off. Did you guys know that Westbrook is averaging like a triple-double almost again? Like he's 0.4 rebounds away. He's averaging 25, 9.6, and 10. Jeez, unbelievable. So, yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. I would appreciate if you guys watch it so that when the Timberwolves do beat the Cavs, people aren't so surprised like, oh, my God, they lost to the Timberwolves. No, the Timberwolves are really good. Like they're first in their division and they're 4th in the conference. I don't really know what the division means. I don't pay a lot of attention to like the actual basketball divisions, because I mean the division doesn't really matter as much as like the ranking in the top 1 through 8. It's not like football where if you win the division you make it to the playoffs. It doesn't quite work that way. So that's the game of the night. Oklahoma City Thunder against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The pick of the night. Are you guys ready for this? This is top secret. Don't tell anybody about this. It's going to be the Golden State Warriors against the Clippers. I want you to take the Clippers plus 16. Please. Plus 16. And I know you're thinking, what, but Ryan, but the Clippers aren't very good. Like, Golden State's going to smack them. No. You don't understand. Sit down. This is what I'm going to tell you. The Golden State Warriors, yes, they won 33 games. Yes, this is true. The Clippers have won 18, and they're in 9th place. This is true as well. But 16 points in an NBA game is a lot of points. It's a lot of points. And it's what we would call like a rivalry game because these teams don't like each other very much. And the Clippers, they've got Patrick Beverly, and Blake Griffin is balling. So trust me, just take the Clippers plus 16, and you're going to be all right. Don't bet your whole home on it. We've been over this before when you guys run off all willy-nilly betting your whole home, putting a whole mortgage on something, and that's not necessarily something that I would want to recommend. I don't recommend that. This year, this time, a while ago, how long ago was this? A while ago in NBA history, I'm going to say it was 1986. So it was kind of a long time ago, if you will, about 31 years ago. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the first player in NBA history to reach 34,000 points. 34,000 points. And at this time, he's still the all-time NBA like scoring leader. And I don't really know if anyone's going to catch him just because it's a lot. It's a lot of points. Like Kobe wanted to catch him and he got, I want to say he got close, but he didn't really get close. He wasn't even close. So when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar retired, he retired with 38,000 points, 38,387 to be exact. And 31 years ago, he reached just 34,000 points. He was the first person to ever do that. So then after that record, obviously, he scored 4,000 more. Behind him is Karl Malone with 36,000 points. So Karl Malone is behind him by, not that far off, 36,928. About 30 more points, and Karl Malone would have only been about 1,300 points away. I say only 1,300 points. Like I've ever scored 1,300 points in my lifetime. Like collectively of all basketball games I've ever played in my life, I haven't scored 1,300 points. I mean, of all the games combined, every video game I've ever played, combine all that together, all of it. Even combine like some Angry Birds, never scored 1,300 points total, never. And then behind Karl Malone is the infamous Kobe Bryant, infamous Black Mamba. Looks like he's a smooth 3,000 points behind Karl Malone. So I don't really know if anyone's going to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on that level just because it was so many buckets and he had unlimited footwork and was still able to play while he was still able to play like in his older age, and he had this amazing hook shot so he can score from pretty much anywhere. Not anywhere, like not the 3-point line. The only person, but the biggest question here's our big question. Here's our big question. This is where we're at right now. LeBron James has 30,000 points, so he's 8,000 points behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Do we know how much longer he's gonna be playing? I think that's a good question. I don't really know exactly. I'm not sure how much longer LeBron is gonna be playing, but I think it's a good question to ask. Now, depending on how much longer LeBron plays, I think he can get 8,000. This season isn't even over. With them averaging about 25 right now and us having 40 more games to play, let me do some quick math for you guys and we'll find out. He's averaging 25 and then we got like 40 more games in the regular season. He's going to get 1,000 points before the regular season's over. So LeBron might pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in all-time scoring, and that's gonna bring up a good question. That's gonna bring us a good question. I personally believe this might bring up a good question. I told you guys a few episodes ago that I wasn't gonna do. I told you a while ago, LeBron and the Jordan thing, we're not gonna do that anymore. I said it was retired. So that we put it to bed last year. But here's my question: if LeBron retires 3 rings, all these MVPs, and has the most points in NBA history, then will he be better than Jordan? Like after all is said and done, because I get the whole when people say stuff like he had help and he left teams and blah, and blah, all these excuses, all these things. Michael Jordan has 6 rings, blah, blah, blah. My question to you is this. If LeBron James has the most points in NBA history, would that make him the best player of all time? Because, I mean, Michael Jordan is behind Kobe. Kobe somehow passed MJ by 1,200 points. If LeBron passes everybody, including Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, does that make LeBron the best player in NBA history? If he has the most points ever, I feel like some of the LeBron hitters may have to revisit that. It might be revisited. That's what we're going to do. I appreciate you guys joining me for another amazing episode of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Podcast Network to fulfill all of your podcasting needs. This has been your favorite host, Ryan Holloway. Live long, prosper, and watch out for potholes.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.